The Mating School by Jonas Mears, Chapters 5 and 6. Chapter 5. Lily went back to her room to put on the beige uniform before dinner. The servant's pale yellow wouldn't help her blend in at all. The material of the new uniform was stiff and lighter than her old clothing. She wondered if it was shifter material. Most pack clothing was, she'd heard. It allowed shifters to transform without removing their clothing, the shift triggering the clothing to be stored in the void beyond this world until they shifted back. The new clothing felt odd against her legs as she walked. She peeked around corners before going forward, worried one of the orphans might see her. She wasn't sure why, really, just that it'd be easier to explain things tonight. "It'll be okay," she said to herself once she got to the door of the dining hall. The light beige of her new clothing stood out like the bright harvest moon in the darkest night sky. But despite her earlier anxiety, no one really stared. They glanced up as she passed, but there were no hateful comments at least. Meals at the pack house were nearly always a self-service buffet. Lily followed the line down the buffet tables, piling her plate high with a little bit of everything: various meats, mashed potatoes, pasta, stir-fry, Jell-O, pastries, and dinner rolls. Despite her unease about tomorrow, she couldn't help but feel euphoric. The food was incredible. The orphans' dining area didn't offer food like this. Unflavored porridge, hard-boiled eggs, and salads were the norm on most days. She couldn't suppress her laugh as she looked around the space. All of these pack members here thought a meal like this was run-of-the-mill, an everyday occurrence, and thus something they took for granted. But to Lily, it was an incredible feast. She went back for seconds and managed to snag the remaining dinner rolls for later. She got a slice of chocolate cake to go as well. She thought it might be against the rules to sneak food out, but no one seemed to care that much, and she'd be gone tomorrow anyway. Part 2. The room looked a bit smaller with all the orphans there. Most wore their sleeping clothes, but some were still in their yellow work clothes. Lily started a movie as everyone settled in. Because so many were still young kids, there was plenty of space on the bed and chairs. Some were even taking turns trying out the bathtub. Lily smiled at the happiness on their faces. She wished she could give them more. She sat in the corner with the second and third eldest of the group. "You're in the pack now?" said Saudi, who knew that a situation like this didn't come without loss. "Were you able to shift then?" "I didn't think anyone shifted for the first time after the age of 15. What's going to happen?" asked Paul. Lily told them about the situation, explaining how she was now part of the pack, but only for a day because she would be leaving tomorrow. She avoided their looks of sadness. She didn't have a choice but to go. "What will we do without you, Lily?" asked Saudi. "You'll be strong," Lily said with a smile. "You'll do the best you can." They smiled in a sad kind of way. There was laughter from the movie in the background. Everything felt so surreal. Lily thought about sharing her fears of the unknown that awaited her tomorrow, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. She couldn't show them her fear when they all needed to be strong and work to adapt to the changes. "Do you guys know anything about this school?" she asked instead. "I've heard it's elite," said Paul. "I've only heard of high-ranking males going before now." Lily laughed with relief. At least it wasn't some kind of slaughterhouse like her mind had been inventing. "That's good to know. I bet they need me to go do chores there. I hope the servant rooms are bigger at least." They talked as the night grew late and the movie finished. Lily wondered if this would be the last time she would talk to them. She focused on so many details. The way Saudi's uniform hung in such a worn and tired way after the day's work. The warmth of their presence. "It'll be okay," she found herself telling them. But she couldn't be sure if she was saying that to them or herself. Tomorrow was approaching fast. "Saudi and I will shift in a year or two," said Paul. "We'll have the benefits of being part of the pack then, and the situation for the orphans will get better." "Don't worry about us, Lily," said Saudi. "I'm not worried," she said. "You both do amazing." It was time then for the raffle Lily had made using another page from her journal. She had created 19 squares with a unique number on each, and each orphan had a number based on age. Lily wouldn't be needing her slinky, putty, or yo-yo where she was going. She was happy to see them find good homes. The putty to Genevieve, the yo-yo to Stefan, and the slinky to Amber, who was the fourth oldest after her. The hardest part was saying goodbye, and yet she promised herself she'd come back someday. She didn't know how, but she couldn't leave her family in this situation if there was anything she could do to change it. "I won't forget you," she said, as the last of them disappeared into the secret passageway down the corridor that would take them to their sleeping quarters. Lily was alone then, with nothing to do but soak in the overlarge tub and wonder about what tomorrow would hold. Chapter 6. The other girls were dressed in pale attire as well. Lily understood then. She couldn't be the only servant working there. Opposite the girls in attendance, the males were all in dark clothing. She thought about what Paul had said last night, about the school being elite. It seemed like it was. Well, for the males at least. "Honestly, it's just plain barbaric," said a girl with short black hair as Lily climbed into a black, oversized SUV. "Masochistic," said a girl with a kind, round face who was sitting opposite the first girl. "The school is?" Lily asked, buckling her seatbelt and getting situated for the trip to the train station on the border of Ajuta's packland. She could see the shadow of 4 other cars beginning to move forward before their car lurched into motion. "It's not all bad," said a new girl. "Easy for you to say," said the first girl. "You want to have a mate." "What does that have to do with anything?" Lily asked. A couple of the girls giggled, but it was an uncomfortable moment before the girl with the round face said, "Rochester Academy, haven't you heard the rumors?" "Nicknamed the mating school," said the dark-haired girl. "It's where they send girls to find their mates. And we have no say in it. It's disgusting. We have a say in it. That's what it is to be female," said the round-faced girl, whose name Lily gathered was Anne. "Besides, you can only find your mate with skin-to-skin contact, so just don't touch anyone. Males looking for their mates will bump into us in corridors," said the first girl. "Okay," Anne said, seeming determined. "Just go hide in a bathroom or something." "Yeah, and starve to death. We don't even know if the rumor is true," said another girl who had been quiet up to that point. "I've heard that females can't leave until they've found their mates. Even if you survived for a year in the bathroom, you'd just be stuck there for another year and another year after that." "I don't think that's true. Didn't you wonder why all the females are low-ranking?" the dark-haired girl said to Lily. Lily started to say, but the idea that she was going to cook and clean seemed somehow silly now. "I don't know," she said instead. "Speak for yourself, Rachel," said a new girl with sharp features. Anne, the round-faced girl sitting next to Lily, leaned in to whisper, "Don't mind Kelly. She thinks she's too good and too high a rank to have been assigned to go to Rochester." "But what does it matter that we're low rank?" Lily said to Rachel. "Well, it's obvious, isn't it?" Lily felt a sickening chill of unease for a moment, but then another girl spoke up. "When males mate, they come back to their home packs with their new partner. It strengthens the pack. That's why the males sent are all high-ranking. It benefits the pack for those shifters to find their mates first. The females, though, well, really, we've all just been kicked out of our pack. They wouldn't give high-ranking females this kind of assignment." Lily felt sad then. She wasn't even sure why. Was all this true? Sure, she had been miserable living at the Ajuta pack, and yet it had been her home. She watched out the back window as the pack buildings became smaller and smaller in the distance, What about the other orphans? Is this the fate that would await some of them also? Lily thought about the vow she'd made last night, about returning at some point, doing what she could to help them. And now, would she even be able to help herself in this new situation? Did she even want a mate? Usually, high-ranking shifters are matched with mates with high rank, Lily said. It doesn't seem like that many mates would be found with this system. I rather doubt my mate would even be there. The car was filled with a heavy silence. The other girls exchanged worried glances, their earlier chatter subdued by Lily's words. The reality of their situation was sinking in, and the uncertainty of what awaited them at Rochester Academy loomed large in everyone's minds. Part 2. The train was sleek, its shiny black exterior resembling a sports car. Lily and the other newly assigned students from neighboring packs stood in lines waiting to board. It might be okay, Anne said, standing beside Lily. They're just rumors, you know. Lily nodded, but still felt uneasy. Her gaze wandered to the edge of the nearby forest, entertaining the fleeting thought of slipping away undetected. But she quickly dismissed the idea. Running away wouldn't solve anything. Besides, she couldn't abandon her orphan family. They didn't tell you the good rumors, Anne continued as they approached the front of the boarding queue. I'm listening, Lily said, feeling a sense of camaraderie with Anne. Is the food amazing? Anne chuckled. I'm not sure about the food, but if we do find our mates, well, the only males there are high-ranking. Ah, Miss Luna Ann, Lily joked. I can see it now. Maybe, Anne said with a smile. But I haven't even told you about the lichen who's in attendance. I think things are going to change with the packs. It has to be true, don't you think? What? Lily asked, intrigued. But their conversation was interrupted as they reached the front of the queue, where a strict and emotionless man stood guard just inside the train door. Lily reached out to scan her wristband, feeling a moment of apprehension as the machine processed the information. What if she was rejected? The thought made her chuckle nervously. The guard regarded her for a moment before the machine blipped, granting her passage onto the train. A few minutes later, Anne joined Lily on board, and they both seemed relieved to have each other's company as they searched for seats. Lily didn't know what to expect from the school, but she was glad she wouldn't be facing it alone.